the great northern powerhouse. This is the story of Gary Neville, but also the unique relationship with his hometown. This is Gary Neville, My Manchester.
Back with another one of those block rocking beats.
1992 FA Youth Cup winning team, outspoken representative of United, one of the most decorated English and European footballers of all time, having won a total of 20 trophies, including 8 Premier League titles and 2 Champions League titles, and a long career playing for his country. Neville is the ultimate one-club man. He has been at the heart of it all at Manchester United, and Neville welcomed us into his private office, a converted mill in the Deansgate area of Manchester, and gave us a behind-the-scene perspective of his early days with the likes of Giggs, Scholes, Keane and Beckham, his pain and pleasure with his England and Valencia roles, what the Salford City project means to him, what the future holds for this unique entrepreneur. I thought that after countless chats in the Sky Sports offices, I knew Gary quite well, but I was surprised about what's behind the famous Gary Neville.
You're a morning person.
Yeah.
So this is early in the morning, but for you it's almost like mid-afternoon. What time did you get up today?
4 o'clock.
Why?
I've got into this. I've got into this habit. I was away on holiday actually a couple of weeks ago in Bali, and I can sleep 10 hours. But it's almost like the minute I come back, I just go into almost like work mode, and I go to bed at 10, half 10, and I'm up at sort of half 3, 4, half 4. I can't get past 5.5, 6 hours. And this morning I thought, oh, I'm just going to get up. I got in my car and I drove to a hotel and had some breakfast at 6 o'clock, and then here with you now, after 7, 8 o'clock.
So you feel like sleeping is wasting your time in a way, that there is so many things to do?
I feel like I've got so much on. I've got so little hours in the day when once everyone wakes up, your day just sometimes drifts away from you because things sometimes, I suppose it's time management, and I'm reading up a lot on it at the moment in terms of how you manage your time during your day, your 8, 9 hours, 10 hours during the day, in terms of finishing tasks that you start rather than a phone call coming in and I'm getting distracted. I might be thinking about Sky, and all of a sudden a phone call comes in on a development in Manchester, St Michael's, and right, I've stopped thinking about Sky for half an hour because I'm now thinking about that, or Salford City, or could be any number of the different projects, the restaurant, stock exchange, and I need to concentrate on one thing. So, but what I do between 5 and 8 is I'm guaranteed 3 hours of peace, because people don't ring you, people don't, even though I've started to ring some of my work colleagues between 7 and 8, you know, I know from 5 till 7, 5 till 8, it's me, and I can get things done. I can reply to emails, I can get any piece of work I need to do, any preparation I need to do, catch up on what's happening in the football world early in the morning before the rest of the day, what's been written, what's been said, and then I know full well because I won't get a chance later on in the day.
At the same time, the ability to jump from one thing to the other and have a clear head, it's a talent absolutely necessary in today's world, isn't it? You have that, don't you?
Yeah, it's a massive challenge. I'm being open with you here. The idea that at the moment I have a team of 3 or 4 real trusted people around me, and we do have to be agile and work between a development project, a sports project, an education project, a restaurant project, a hotel, and they are flexible, but it's getting to the point now where I need specialists in each area, and we're now resource. I don't like employing people, I'll be honest with you, because I think once you start to stretch your immediate team that you trust your investments with, development with your companies with, it starts to become diluted away from what the idea was in the first place. So I have a core team of around 3 or 4 people, but I'm now recognising that I wanted to, for instance, employ a central PR company for my businesses, football, that's Salford City, hospitality, property development, education project, whatever it might be. The reality is that you need specialists in each division. The hospitality company, for instance, the hotel, they're saying, well, PR people that you've employed are good in development, but they're not good in hotels. So it is starting to now branch out into all different areas. It's becoming a little bit more confusing, and it's more difficult to compartmentalise, and that's the the biggest challenge I have at the moment is managing that time between each project and sector and actually getting the right service to the companies.
So you're going from working with friends to working with professionals. Is it going to be as much fun?
I love business. I love the thrill of exciting, but I only do business projects that excite me. I don't do them. I don't look at the sort of the spreadsheet and say, oh, that gives me I think, do I like it? So, for instance, the hotel outside Old Trafford, or the Stock Exchange in Manchester, or the Michelin star restaurant in Leeds that we're looking to buy into, the Salford City. I love them all. I don't dislike any project that I do. I can't do it. If I don't love it, I can't do it. It's simple as that. So, even if you showed me tomorrow an industrial estate in Ilkley, I wouldn't even turn over the page. I can't get excited about an industrial estate in Ilkley, even though it might be a fantastic project.
So we are at your offices now, which is quite close to the city centre. This is the so-called apartment side of things. I don't know how much private life happens here, because it looks like another big office, but really nicely designed. What happens here? What happens in this building?
So basically, the idea was I bought this building 4 years ago, and it was to have all the people so all the heads of all the businesses and all the main people in the building. And on top here is an apartment, which is the reason I bought the building. One, I do use it sometimes for private use, but generally this is where we sit. And I don't believe in working in office space. I hate the idea of working. All the businesses that I have now, I design an office like a bar. That's the way I see it. A coffee shop, a bar, people sat in different areas, people got music on. We have, I'd normally have music on here in the background. I don't want people sat in straight lines, 1.2 metres apart from one another, with each having a little laptop. Of course, you have to in some sort of call centres or production, but for me, the idea of working in a conventional manner in a normal office would just be ridiculous. It can't happen. I think people need to be inspired, surrounded by good design, surrounded by art, surrounded by music, to enable them to be creative and to work in a good environment. And I don't believe, so we're expanding downstairs into the other 2 floors. We've got 2 floors here. The 2 floors we rented initially, we're now taking those 2 floors back. And the bottom floor, I'm making almost like think of Sky Sports News, with all the digital screens around the edge, with like a polo mint bar in the middle. And the idea being that if it's a Salford City meeting, I can turn all the televisions to Salford. If it's a development meeting, I can turn all the televisions to development or the project we're working on. And it's almost like, again, a different type of idea that I don't like working in a conventional way. And here in this office, it's vibrant, it's exciting, people come in, there's no dress code, and we just enjoy the projects we work on it. And I love this office. It's no mill in Manchester that obviously has got a lot of history, and it's a fantastic place to be.
We're going to touch on some of the projects that you're involved with, but let's go back a little bit to your playing career. And when you hear or see somebody talks to you about your playing career, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Is it a smell, a picture, a goal, a game, a person, a manager?
Do you know something? I'm 5 years, nearly 6 years retired now. I don't think about my playing career at all. I honestly don't think about it at all, until I might do if I get reminded. You just asked me a question now, so it sort of makes me think about it, but I don't think about my playing career. I don't reflect on it. I don't miss it at all. I don't know if other football players, I miss the thrill, I miss the buzz on a Saturday. I don't miss anything about it. I know one thing, I miss the nights when we won trophies. I miss the nights when we won trophies, because they were the best times of my life, and where we had 22 lads, whichever 22 lads there were a core of us obviously there for a long time, but whichever 22 lads in that 20-year period, we just had the most amazing night, which we celebrated, sang, drank. I miss that. I miss the Christmas party with the lads, and I miss the pre-season night out. If you said to me, what do I miss, they're the things I miss. Because the days that I know I'll never get back, in terms of, I genuinely believe that I'm as excited now about the things I'm doing. I'm excited about Salford, a new stadium proposal we're going to put in the next few weeks. I love playing for United. What does it remind me of my career? Lucky. I feel lucky to have played for United. I feel privileged, but I don't think anything of it. It's weird, really. There's nothing that wants to take me back there, either emotionally or mentally. There's nothing. I sometimes draw upon maybe experiences of things that happen, but not reflect on my playing side.
Going out, staying in.
Of a successful player was character. To test this, he would do media training for young players, and while they presumed it was to learn how to answer questions, they never realised that it centred around the biggest losses, defeats, poorest games. Ferguson was looking for those who were prepared to learn from setbacks as opposed to blaming others. The class of '92 offered some great examples of this attitude. Gary Neville reflected on the interview and arranged a whip around so they could hire a minibus to drive to Leeds and scout their next opponents in the FA Youth Cup final. You did that?
Yeah.
So it is already, as a player, you are thinking beyond your role, beyond your responsibilities. Was that what it was as well?
Yeah, I think that I work on the theory that if you work harder than everybody else, you've got a great chance of being better. I just work on that theory. If I did 20 extra one-on-one defending drills every day in training 5 times a week, that was 100. If someone else wasn't doing that, by the end of the month I'd done 400. By the end of the year I'd done 4,800. I've got to be better than him. He's going to have to work a lot harder. I work on that theory that if I'm getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, is somebody else getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning? And I suppose in things like that, if our opponents aren't watching us and we are going over to watch them, and we didn't win that Youth Cup final, that's the problem with that one. So the reality of it is that eventually I always think you'll get your reward. And in terms of sort of things like, I completely agree. And I suppose in more than ever, you know, having been with England for 4 years, having been with Valencia for 4 months, character, personality is everything. And you said there about never wanting to blame there is nothing worse than hearing someone give a reason as to why they failed, or of course there's sometimes the reasons, but you've got to take the blame yourself. I can't open that hotel over there and blame the general manager for it failing. Why? I appointed the general manager. I can't go to Spain for 4 months and be coach of Valencia and blame the fact there was a difficult dressing room. I didn't speak the language. We had some bad luck and missed some chances. Why? Because I knew I didn't speak the language before I went. I knew that there was a difficult dressing room there. I knew they'd sacked 15 managers in 13 years. You knew all this, Gary. You didn't deal with it. You didn't overcome the difficulties that were in front of you in that 4-month period. So the idea that I can sit there and blame and say, oh, it was the owner's fault because they shouldn't have put me in that situation, or it was the captain's fault because he didn't control the dressing room, or it was because so-and-so missed 5 chances on the bounce in a game and we would have won. I picked that player. I took the job in those circumstances under that owner, and that's why for me there can never be any blame on anything. Certain times, there are sometimes things that happen that are a little bit unfortunate, but generally it comes back to a decision you've made. If someone comes into an office and says, I'm not happy here, well, you didn't do your due diligence in taking the job in the first place. Now, there are obviously times where people have to take a job because they need the money, and that's where I do have some level of sympathy, and it becomes a means to an end, and it becomes an element of desperation. But people who have choice, most people have a choice.
In fact, so if my theory is correct, coming from the culture of Manchester United you come from, given the opportunity to take over Valencia, the last thing you do is doubt. You're convinced that you can do it because nothing is impossible.
Yeah, and I didn't have any doubts going over there. I thought it was an amazing opportunity, and you're absolutely right. When you go back to that Manchester United dressing room, it does come from that. The idea of walking into that dressing room at the end of the game and blaming another teammate. Honestly, I can't think that can happen without you being absolutely killed. I always remember my last game for United against West Brom, and I had a disaster. I absolutely had a disaster. And I remember I was too wide on the opposite side of the pitch when the ball was on the right. The ball was on their right, our left back side, I'm right back, and I was far too way out on the opposite side of the pitch. The ball got played over Rio Ferdinand's head, and a player ran from midfield through the gap between me and Rio Ferdinand, and it's just absolutely clear. The ball goes over your centre-back's head from the other side of the pitch. The right-back has to be into cover.
It's been West Brom on the front foot. They should have had a penalty for a challenge by the woeful Gary Neville on Graham Dorrans shortly after.
There was going to be a major issue in the Manchester United dressing room, and I wouldn't expect to see Gary Neville come back out again.
At half-time, Sir Alex had a right go at before it, and Rio Ferdinand stood up and said, "Oh, boss, it was my fault." And that, to me, sums up what the dressing room I was in. You didn't throw your teammates overboard. You didn't chuck your teammates overboard. So the idea that you go to Valencia, of course you think you can do everything, but the idea that you come out of it and it doesn't go as well as you can't think in results terms, you then blame others. No, can't happen. I never blame. You can't blame people. You can be frustrated with the performance of someone or how things are going, but you can't blame others for things that go wrong when you're in my position.